We give esteem, honor, and praise to the Most High Yah by way of Yahushua HaMashiach. John 5:39. Matter of fact, just make it Matthew 18 and 15. Just make it Matthew 18 and 15. Matthew 18 and 15. Where's that thing at? Just go ahead. This whole nother type thing just came to my head. Matthew 18 and 15. Matthew 12 and 48. We'll get that other stuff I mentioned in a minute. Matthew 12 and 46. But Matthew 18 and 15 first. If thy brother trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. Now come over here to Matthew chapter 12, verse 48. Now what that meaning is if you had an issue with somebody, whatever the case may be, then you need to go tell them. You know what I'm saying? I know everybody know that the situation I was dealing with, because it was quite public, it was quite known. Me and her had issues with each other. We pretty much let each other know that. If we spoke on it after the fact, that's because we had already brought that to each other already. It had already been discussed between the two of us. 12 and 46. He said, while he yet talked to the people, behold, his mother and his brethren stood without, desiring to speak with him. Then one said unto him, behold, thy mother and thy brethren stand without, desiring to speak with thee. But he answered and said unto him that told him, who is my mother and who are my brethren? And he stretched forth his hand towards his disciples and said, behold, my mother and my brethren. For whosoever shall do the will of my Abba, which is in Shamahim, the same is my brother and sister and mother. Now, I'm going to show y'all something, right? I want you to go to Galatians chapter 6 and verse 1 before we even swing back to this Matthew 18. I just want to sit back and show you something. Because I know some of you sit back and think, well, if a nigga did this or a nigga did that, he ain't my brother, he ain't my sister. Just sit back and look at something, what this man finna tell you. 6 and 1. Yeah, I'm finna go in a whole nother direction what I had in my head. We just rock it like that. Galatians 6 and 1. Listen what he tell you. Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such a one in the ruach of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the Torah of Mashiach. So if you see somebody overtaken in a fault, right? He say, go restore him in the ruach of meekness. Now, who could you sit back and you could see somebody overtaken in something wrong, and somebody come in humility to restore them? Y'all got anybody in your mind you can sit back and you can think about that? Don't nobody got nobody named my nigga think about with that? Say they overtaken in the fault. He said, you see a man overtaken in the fault. He said, go restore him in the ruach of meekness, considering yourself, lest you also be tried. So what are we mentioning? Huh?
But he was faultless. I think we say Job, but he was faultless.
No, we say overtaken in a fault, not faultless. Meaning you see a man, he done went and did something wrong. He overtaken in something that's wrong. You coming to restore him back from what he caught up in. He say, restore him in the ruach of meekness, in the spirit of humility. He say, considering yourself, lest you be tried. Because see, what I'm mentioning this for is this. You see a brother or sister. They overtaken in a fault. You supposed to consider to restore them in humility in that fault, lest you mess around and you fall in the same thing, and then you be in the same spot they in. You know what I'm saying? You don't sit back and see them overtaken in a fault and come for their neck. That ain't what he told you to do. Because even before y'all come for our neck, he had a long space of mercy and compassion before he came for your neck. He came for your neck because you just were hard-headed. Let's look at somebody, man. Let me see who we can sit back and think of. Look at Nehemiah 13 real fast. Nehemiah chapter 13. Probably about verse 20. I'm thinking about something else. Y'all just bear with me for a minute. And then 2 Samuel chapter 12. Nehemiah 13. About verse 20.
You see them running around with some drones?
No. She ain't had nothing. Make it 23, actually. Matter of fact, make it 22. 13 and 22. And I commanded the Levites that they should cleanse themselves, that they should come and keep the gates to sanctify the Shabbat day. Remember me, O my Elohim, concerning this also, and spare me according to the greatness of thy mercy. In those days also I saw Yahudim that had married the wives of Ashdod, of Ammon, and of Moab. And their children spake half in the speech of Ashdod, and could not speak in the Yahudim's language, but according to the language of each people. And I contended with them, and cursed them, and smote certain of them, and plucked off their hair, and made them swear by Elohim. Hello? Hello? Saying, you shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons, or for yourselves. Did not Solomon, king of Yasharal, sin by these things? Yet among many nations there was no king like him, who was beloved of his Elohim. And Elohim made him king over all Yasharal. Nevertheless, even him did outlandish women cause to sin. Shall we then hearken unto you to do all this great evil, to transgress against our Elohim, and marrying strange wives? Now you see that, you sit back and you see he say he contended with him. That means he fought against them. I'm going to pull the Hebrew word out for this sit back with this instance. Now me and Nehemiah coming at these people, he's not coming at them like boom, boom, boom. Now of course he went at the Levites because they knew better. But then you have to sit back and look at these men were overtaken in a fault. And when you come to him, you got to come to him in the humility of Elohim. That's why he say, have mercy on me for thy goodness sake, for thy great name and mercy's sake. Because you don't even realize if you come at somebody simple fact, most I put you in that same position. Because see, I'm going to tell y'all something. I know it's some things you know that, hey, okay, in this situation, I won't do this, or I wouldn't do this, or I wouldn't do that. But I'll tell you like this here. There's certain time, man, in some situations, you don't know what you're going to do if you ain't never been in that situation before. It's real easy to tell somebody what they should do if you ain't never been in it. You know what I'm saying? And what you'll do. And the Most High can sometimes put you in that position just for you to see what you're going to do. Now, when it say contend, in this place, the word is rev, and it can mean strive, contend, physically with words, or to conduct a case or suit, or to make a complaint. So when he came at them, he's coming to make a complaint. You know what I'm saying? Because we just sat back and realized we just came up out of bondage, and here you go messing with idols. Hold on, let's say like he say he cursed some of them too. Let's see what we got this here. And it's kalal. Means to make despicable, to curse, or to treat with contempt, or bring contempt or dishonor. Now at the same time, right, I want you to hold this and look at 1 Corinthians 15 and 33. At the same time, right, you can sit back and you can reprove somebody, and you can know why they did it. That's not letting them slide. You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting back here, I'm going to bring this to you. I'm going to let you know that you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to sit back and be like, okay, I condone this behavior. But at the same time, I can sit back and look at, okay, I can understand why you made that move. I don't contend with that move. You know what I'm saying? But you just know that there's a dishonor in what you did. You ought to be shamed. But then once that's been brought that you ought to be shamed for the work, you don't have to beat them across the head with it. It said, be not deceived, evil communications corrupt good manners. Awake to righteousness and sin not, for some have not the knowledge of Elohim. I speak this to your shame. So why do we not have the knowledge of Elohim? Because we didn't like to retain him in our knowledge. This is the only reason. So when we do things that are outside the way, that's when that dishonor comes, when you get reproved and rebuked for it. That's when he said back in there, I'm going to sit back and show dishonor or contempt unto you. Because that behavior is contemptible. You know what I'm saying? Come on back over here to this 2 Samuel chapter 12. Let's look at somebody else coming in the ruach of meekness to restore a man taken in a fault. You sit back and Nehemiah coming and he bearing that reproach, he bearing that burden with him. And we're going to see Nathan come through do the same thing. 12 and 1, we're going to see Nathan do the same thing. We're going to see if Nathan came for this man's neck or did he come in humility to hit him with this here to restore this man. It said Yahuwah's son Nathan unto David, and he came unto him and said unto him, there were two men in one city, the one rich and the other poor. The rich man had exceeding many flocks and herds, but the poor man had nothing save one little ewe lamb, which he had bought and nourished up, and they grew up together with him and with his children, and did eat of his own meat, and drink of his own cup, and lay in his bosom, and was unto him as a daughter. And there came a traveler unto the rich man, and he spared to take his own flock and of his own herd, to dress for the wayfaring man that was come unto him. But took the poor man's lamb, and dressed it for a man that was to come to him. And David's anger was greatly kindled against the man. And he said to Nathan, as Yahuwah live, the man that have done this shall surely die. And he shall restore the lamb fourfold, because he did this thing, because he had no pity. And Nathan said to David, thou art the man. Thus saith Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharal, I anointed thee king over Yasharal, and I delivered thee out of the hand of Saul. Now he just sat back and told you see how he came while this man was taking in his fault? He came humbly. He didn't even come for his throat. Now some of us will sit back and look like he supposed to came for him and crashed him. By the time, like I say, man, there's some people we done seen where, okay, a nigga done went off on him. But before it got to that point, hello? How you doing? How you doing? But before it got to that point, they had already been came to like that. Yeah. I say before it even, yeah, like before it got to that point, we had already came at him in this same fashion before it even got to that point. You have to sit back and look at it, right? Because Nathan was a prophet, so that means the Ruach of Elohim was in it. He came in the Ruach of meekness to restore this man. That's how he came at it. That's how he came at it. So when you see that, he say, do you are those that are spiritual, and you see a man taking in the fault, how you supposed to come at him? This is the reason being. This is what you got to sit back and realize something, right? I want you to look at James chapter 5. Then Leviticus 19. James 5 and 19. And then Leviticus 19 and 15. It say, brethren, if any of you do err from the truth and one converted, let him know that he which convert the sinner from the error of his way shall save a soul from death and shall hide a multitude of sins. Now, you know, a lot of people turn around and they'll look at that as the person who converted the person get a lot of their sins covered. That's not what the man said. This man said, let him know that he which convert the sinner from the error of his way shall save a soul from death and shall hide a multitude of sins. That means hides the sins of the person who's been converted. Now let's turn around and let's look at something in Matthew 1 and 21. Make it 1 and 18. After that, Ephesians 4 and 18. Now the birth of Yahushua HaMashiach was on the wise, this wise, when as his mother Mary was espoused to Yosef, therefore they came together, she was found with child of the Ruach HaKodesh. Then Yosef, her husband, being a just man, not willing to make her a public example, was minded to put her away privily. But while he thought on these things, behold, the Malachim of Yahuwah appeared unto him in a dream, saying, Yosef, thou son of Daud, fear not to take thee Miriam thy wife, for that which is conceived in her is of the Ruach HaKodesh. And thou shalt bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Yahusha, and for he shall save his people from their sins. Now this means that this man is coming to do something. I want you to look at Psalms 19 and 7 before I holler at this Ephesians 4 and 18. Psalms 19 and 7. There's something that come to my mind with that.
Listen, what I just said. Put it down.
Psalms 19 and 7. Listen what this man tell you. The Torah of Yahuwah is perfect, it's complete, converting the soul. The testimony of Yahuwah is sure, making wise the simple. The statutes of Yahuwah are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of Yahuwah is pure, enlightening the eyes. The fear of Yahuwah is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of Yahuwah are true and righteous altogether. Now we're going to look at something real fast with this Psalms. And we're going to look at perfect. They say this Torah is perfect. So that means we're going to look at this word as soon as it cooperates. It don't want to cooperate for the moment. There we go. The word we have here is tamim. It means complete, whole, entire, sound, healthful, complete, wholesome, unimpaired, innocent, having integrity. What is complete or entirely in accord with truth and fact. So this is what we sit back as what the Torah will make you do. It will make you complete, whole, and sound, and it'll give you health. It'll cause you to be innocent, and it'll cause you to have integrity. Now, you just remember those things. Now, when we look at converting your defast, let's sit back and look at that. Hold on, because he still don't want to cooperate. You could go to Ephesians 4:18 for the moment. When we look at converting, it means shuv. It means to return, to turn back. To turn back. To restore, to refresh, to repair. To allow to return. To draw back, to restore. To bring back, to make requital. To turn back or backwards or repel. To bring back to mind. To reverse or revoke. Now, just something coming to mind. Let's look at this Ephesians 4:18 because there's something that'll come to my head for that.
No, stop.
So when you sit back and you look at that, if somebody is going in error and you convert them for their way, because see, it says love covers a multitude of sins, to have fervent love amongst one another. You sit back and look at it, is everybody really have a passionate love for one another, or do you love each other when it's convenient for you? Or when you like a person, or when, you know what I'm saying? And we still hold in Matthew 18, like when is we sitting back looking at when you love somebody? Because even if they in a fault, you still supposed to love them when they in that fault. You know what I'm saying? If you loved them before they fell in that fault. Ephesians 4:18. I gotta use this other book. Give me a second, y'all. I gotta use this other book. So I gotta go back to the page. Make it 17. Make it 16. Make it 15. But speaking the truth in love may grow up into him in all things, which is the head, even Mashiach. Now you sit back and look at it. That's the same way Nathan came to David. He spoke the truth to him in love. You know what I'm saying? You can speak the truth to somebody in love, even if they don't want to hear what you're saying to them. No mean you got to comfort their neck. He say, from whom the whole body fitly joined together, compacted by that which every joint supply, according to the effectual working in the measure of every part, make increase of the body unto the edifying of itself in love. That means you would instruct them out of love. Because remember what we dealt this a long time ago. Love edify and knowledge puff up. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be careful with that. That's why he say if you see a person overtaking the fault, come to in the ruach of meekness, because you get puffed up, you're going to get, the Most High going to cause you to fall into that same thing. This I say therefore and testify in the Master, that you henceforth walk not as other Gentiles walk in the vanity of their mind, having the understanding dark and being alienated from the life of Elohim through the ignorance that is in them because of the blindness of their heart. Now we already know from Isaiah 29, that man already blinded your heart. So you was walking around in the ignorance of your heart. Now we also know to sit back and look at it at the same time that niggas know right from wrong. If you've been hearing the word, you know this here and you know that there. Just like David knew the word. He knew what he did was wrong. He knew he shouldn't have did that. Them Levites knew the law. They knew they shouldn't have done that. That don't change the fact of how they came at them to sit back to convert them from that. That's why you sit back and look at that. When he came and did that, and he came and he caught that man in the fault, and Nathan came and he converted him from the error of his way, he covered a multitude of sins. He said, I put that sin away. Why? Because David had a humble and contrite heart when he heard it. You know what I'm saying? Say the sacrifices of a broken heart, Elohim will not despise. Look at the next thing he say. Who being have given themselves over under lasciviousness to work all uncleanliness with greediness, but you have not so learned Mashiach. If so be that you have heard of him and have been taught by him, as the truth is in Yahushua, that you put off the former behavior, the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lust, and be renewed in the ruach of your mind. Now we know the master is the Torah. So this is to make you whole, sound, and healthy. I want you to look in the law of Deuteronomy 32 when it comes to this. Deuteronomy 32. Make sure that's what I want. 32 and 39. Deuteronomy 32 and 39. Matter of fact, make it 35. Make it, matter of fact, make that 34. 34 sticking out to me real fast. He says, is not this laid up and stored with me and sealed up among my treasures? But actually, I want you to look at 30. Like, we've got to go all the way to 27 so you can see what's going cycling through my mind. He said, were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy, lest their adversaries should behave themselves strangely, lest they should say our hand is nigh, and Yahuwah have not done all this? For they are a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them. Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their latter end. See, that's what our whole problem is. We void of doing what the man tell us to do. Now, I'm going to get the word for it. He said, you void of counsel. This is a nation that has no understanding in them. Now, we sit back and we look at Mashiach going to be in us. Now, when you look at counsel, that means advice or purpose. It's atzah, advice or purpose. And he said, you void of it. Which is avad, excuse me. And that means to perish, to vanish, to go astray, to be destroyed, to be lost, strayed, to give up, exterminate, to blot out, to do away with, to destroy and to put to death. So when we turn around and sit back and we look at it, basically what he's telling us in this situation is that we are a nation that is going to die because we're void of purpose. No plan. The man has a plan of salvation for us to walk. That's why we don't have no understanding in us, because we don't understand the plan is to become like the son and do as he did. When he sit back and now we'll sit back and look at the master coming to somebody caught in the fault, and let's see if he restored him in the Ruach of meeting. Let's look at John chapter 3. John chapter 8, matter of fact. Let's just look at that. Let's see if the master do the same thing. The converted sinner from their way that he might cover a multitude of sins. We'll come back to Deuteronomy 32. That just hit my head right now. I guess we got to sit back and look at the master doing it too. 8 and 4. They say unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us such should be stoned. But what say thou? This they said, tempting him that they might accuse him. But Yahushua stooped down with his hand and wrote on the ground as though he heard him not. So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and he said unto them, he that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. Again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. And when they heard it, being convicted of their own conscience, went out one by one, beginning at the eldest, even unto the last. And Yahushua was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. And when Yahushua had lifted up himself, and saw that none but the woman, he said unto her, Woman, where are those thine accusers? Have no man condemned thee? She said, No man, master. Yahushua said unto her, Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. Now sit back and look at it, right? He didn't cut her brain off. He didn't make no excuses for it. Nigga, you wrong. Just don't go do it no more. You know what I'm saying? Now, we know that to sit back and look at it because I'm just trying to give you just a sit back and a little bit of wisdom. When we sit back and you look at it, if you're trying to convert somebody from the error of their way, it's a way to go about it. Now, of course, we know you sit back and look at, we looked at last week too at the same time, the man sit back and say, boom. If it get to the point where it's a continual offense. Because when you say the fornicators of this world and the extortioners and all these people that do, I mean, they continually doing this. Then he say, extricate them from amongst you. There's a difference from somebody being overtaken in a fault and them in a continual state of transgression where you trying to separate yourself from them to have them shamed. A lot of time niggas doing that, it ain't got nothing to do with it. You don't even know what's going on. You're not even trying to find out what's going on. You're not even trying to get some understanding of what's going on. You just isolate somebody. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that. Which it's not the first time I done said this. It ain't like I ain't never said it before. Come on back to Deuteronomy 32. We still holding Matthew 18. Where we at? See, now you sit back and look at it, right? We have to sit back. We just read 29, right? If we would understand his counsel, then we would understand what our latter end would be. We would understand the reward that would be able to be received. See, you know, in Hebrews 13:1 to tell you about let brotherly love continue.